Hey everyone, I just wanted to do a follow-up video after my stream last week about NYC mayoral candidate Andrew Yang. I'm going to talk about some of the things that I mentioned in that stream. I want to add a few more observations, and then at the very end I want to do a recap of all of the information. So first of all, we know that there are tons of celebrities attached to Andrew Yang's campaign. People like Amy Schumer, Lucy Liu, Sarah Silverman, ASAP Ferg, all attached, millionaires and billionaires attached to this celebrity machine running for mayor here in New York. We also talked about the photo ops that he does, how he will come into someone's business, film them working, talk to them, and upload that video to his social media to try to show people that he's supporting businesses and things like that. He also does these stunts where he will show up to where his canvassers are getting signatures to get him on the ballot, and he'll do little photo ops of people, encourage them to post on social, obviously, but also he'll have professional photographers and sometimes videographers, and kind of using people as props and using their neighborhood as a backdrop for his own social media campaign. We know that he sees New York City as a smart city. That is probably the future of New York, no matter what. But his basic income program would be $2,000 per person for the poorest 500,000 New Yorkers. So that's $2,000 per year for the poorest New Yorkers. And that program doesn't really scratch the surface when it comes to the amount of unemployment and disparity that a smart city could actually bring New York. He's not really discussing a lot of the problems that could actually create. A lot of Yang supporters think that it's inevitable that New York City will be a smart city in the very near future, and we have evidence supporting that here. July 1st, 2019, Governor Cuomo announced a sweeping series of economic development partnerships between New York and Israel. And if you scroll down, it says, as a result of solidarity trip last week, partnerships to focus on UAV/drones, transportation, energy, cybersecurity, financial technology, and healthcare technology and research. 17 Israeli entities will work with 6 New York State agencies and other partners to bolster innovation and economic ties between the two states. Oh boy. And if you scroll down, you see all of the different relationships we have formed with Israel. The New York-Israel partnerships might have inspired Andrew Yang to write this. Andrew Yang, my vision for New York City's Jewish community. Now, in this article, Andrew tries to tie his Taiwanese roots to Jewish people who survived the Holocaust. Maybe a bit of a stretch, but not that big of a deal. But later in this article, he writes this. The Yang administration will push back against the BDS movement, which singles out Israel for unfair economic punishment. Not only is BDS rooted in anti-Semitic thought and history, harkening back to the fascist boycotts of Jewish businesses, it's also a direct shot at New York City's economy. Strong ties with Israel are essential for a global city such as ours, which boasts the highest Jewish population in the world outside of Israel. Our economy is struggling, and we should be looking for ways to bring back small businesses, not stop commerce. Yikes. So he compares Palestinians to Nazis. Luckily, some activists confronted him about this.
Palestinian people in Palestine and saying that it's akin to fascist boycotts of Jewish businesses that completely disappoints many Palestinian activists, many Arabs, many Muslims who find the cause to ending the occupation of Palestine by the Israeli government absolutely abhorrent. So we wanted to hear if you had any clarifying questions about that, when there are other mayoral candidates who haven't made such comments and who has actually affirmed that we do have the right to BDS.
First, I have never made comments to that effect.
It's actually written down in the forward.
You compared Palestinians to Nazis.
That's what she said.
And I have
You compared Palestinians to fascists.
I was trying to answer a question.
No. I want to hear the answer. I want to hear the answer.
And of course, he runs away. Now let's take a look at his views on the media. This is from Yang's 2020 campaign. Media fragmentation. Outside of extreme cases of malicious libel, the freedom of the press is inviolate. However, the fragmentation of our media is a growing problem. Different communities are receiving their news exclusively through different channels, resulting in worldviews with differing facts that rarely overlap. We can't decide on shared values if we don't agree on basic facts. We can't find shared solutions if we don't even agree what the problems are. The government should not meddle with the free press, but the government should support the major media and technology companies in finding solutions to the issues. After the Russian influence campaign affected the 2016 election, Facebook, Twitter, and other social media companies have started to investigate ways to mitigate these issues. The government should be supporting them in any way they deem appropriate. Oh, so he's a Russiagator. Interesting. Now, let's see what he has to say about Julian Assange.
Do you support Julian Assange?
I think Julian Assange should stand trial. I am generally pro whistleblower and pro people that try and call out bad behaviors. But in that particular case, he did end up disclosing some information that really had no useful purpose except for potential damage to our infrastructure, like the undersea cables location and some other things. So I certainly would not be in favor of I think he should stand trial.
Thank you.
No problem.
Well, that was a bad answer. Let's recap, shall we? He has tons of celebrities working on his campaign, millionaires and even billionaires that are helping him raise money from grassroots donors. He does a lot of photo ops and publicity stunts. When someone protests him in Harlem, cops are called.
On camera, bro. We got you on camera. See? Yang's people accusing me of assault right there. Look at that. That's what Yang's a cop caller. He's called cops on you. Yang's gonna call the cops on you. Look at that. Yang's calling the cops on you.
He's anti-$15 minimum wage. He's anti-teachers union. He doesn't support the New York Health Act. He doesn't support Medicare for all. He compared Palestinians to Nazis, and he does not support Julian Assange's freedom. That means he's anti-free press. He's anti-First Amendment rights. And honestly, he doesn't care about human rights. So, Andrew Yang, what's up? And I just want to leave you with this. This brilliant teenager from Teens Take Charge NYC schools Andrew Yang on education.
You've said that you wanted to keep the specialized high school admissions test in place. Are you familiar with the fact that in 50 years, the test has never produced a specialized high school population that in any way mirrors the economic and racial makeup of New York City students?
Thanks, Kylie. I think that our school should represent the diversity of the city. And I think that we should include the test in a holistic set of factors that include very common sense things.
Respectfully, we can agree grades, that the test has never produced.
Like grades, essays.
I understand what you're saying. That wasn't my question.
Background. And so we can actually
Andrew, I
accomplish
understand
goals.
what you were saying. That wasn't my question. My follow-up question is, why do you support a test that reproduces such a huge race and class disparity?
I think that if you were to use the test as a sole factor, you end up with results that most all of us would find unacceptable and disagree with. I think that we should actually not over rely on the test and abdicate and outsource our judgment to one data point, but instead do what frankly people do in most every other environment, and what you would do with common sense, which is consider again, grades, essays, recommendations, student interests, background. I'm a parent, I have children. Our children are very, very different from each other. You can't boil it down to any one thing. So I wouldn't get rid of the test entirely, but I would integrate it into a whole set of factors and then have our schools reflect our city.
To clarify, you're advocating for keeping a test that continues racial and economic disparities in our city. Yes or no? You're muted. Andrew, you're muted.
Did I get muted because of time?
Oh, sorry.
All right, it's cool. Again, I think that we should include it, but include it in a whole host of factors.